create giant construction supply industries in Scotland. If you model the tax gain and the employment gain from all of that, and also we were assuming that you would probably take, in our model, you would take electricity and heating into large, either public or mutual companies. And if you look at the tax revenue, modest assumptions about tax revenue and modest assumptions about direct revenue for things like electricity sales, it was coming into about £6.5 billion a year, which is reassuring, because if you were to suggest that we borrowed all the money, all the 175 billion up front on day one, which you obviously wouldn't, to cover the cost of this, the interest payments over 50 years are only £5 billion a year. So if you did this collectively and were successful with an industrial policy that captured the supply chains and as much of the value as the work as possible, it would more than pay for itself. And now you're just talking about maintenance and the costs of keeping things running. These are the hopes that we can have if we do. And another thing that I loved about Morton's presentation was the emphasis on planning. Because I really don't believe we plan successfully in Scotland. Again, because we think we can make things happen by tweaking at the sides and the edges of levers and regulations and market pricing. And we'll never get it done that way. I say it again. 150 years ago, I don't think Scotland would have any difficulty building a universal sewage system. 60 years, 70 years ago, I don't think Scotland would have any difficulty building a universal sewage system. I do not believe contemporary Scotland could build a universal sewage system. I do not believe, either at the municipal or the national level, that if we had a sudden urgent need to build an entire sewage system, I don't think Scotland could do it. I think we'd be in committee stage for about 20 years. Right, that's a sorry state of affairs. This is the outcome of a political ideology which is narrowed down to fiscal management, not long-term social or industrial planning. Where's the good thinking coming from? Well, just about everywhere else. The problem is it's not coordinated. So, if you've got a dumb political system, and I mean, honestly, dumb political systems are better than clever ones, if clever ones mean long-term controlled by hard-betting leaders. What makes it stupid is responsiveness. It's being responsive to human and democratic desires. And what makes that daft is that we are a terrible flighty species who are continually judging things on the basis of what happened in the last 10 minutes. There is no way around this. If you want responsive government, you will have short-termism. So you have to balance that somehow. And this is where the role of people in this room and groups like Weal and the universities should be coming in. The balance to bad political thinking is good civic thinking. Now, coming right back to the beginning of what I was saying there, if you sit down with a blank sheet of paper and you design a heating system, a decarbonised heating system for contemporary Scotland, it's not air source heat pumps. It's just not. There's no way it is. It's not gas. It's not hydrogen. I mean, that's nuts. It's district heating. There's no question it's district heating, especially when you know that it's future-proofed. So if hydrogen became an unviable fuel in the future and you've built a hydrogen system, you're stuck. But district heating is heat source neutral. It is future-proofed, it is inexpensive, it is reliable. We don't have to worry too much about what heat, we don't have to worry too much about what heating source is available just now, because whatever comes along, you just plug it in. It's really easy. So you build it and you future-proof it. If you sit down and you do that from a blank sheet of paper, you arrive here. If you go and talk to industry, they will tell you, this is the sensible thing to do, we're keen to become large-scale partners. If you talk to consumers, a zero inflation energy system is very attractive. A zero inflation energy system, in particular with heating, which has zero reliance, I mean, this is, I'm talking in Liberation Day, right? Anything in the modern world in which you are entirely reliant on foreign suppliers to maintain core domestic capacity is a concern in the current environment. With a district heating system, we can control the whole process domestically without any difficulty. We have the thinking, we have the capacity, we have the knowledge. We don't have the coordination. And frankly, we don't have the culture of it in Scotland. The universities, I spent years working for the universities as their head of political strategy, and I'm a massive fan, but I am critical, and I do think that they have lost the focus on shifting public policy through public debate now. It's far too much consultancy, not enough big thinking. We need to get our academia back orientated, not to short-term fee hunting because of sequences of short-term, narrow grant applications, and into the big thinking that changes our society. We need a more thriving NGO and think tank sector which is doing the same thing. We need a media that's going to be capable of taking this seriously. So a few months ago, in frustration at another series of stories in the Herald about air source heat pumps, I did them a column. I sent them in a column and just said, have you ever heard of district heating? I remember getting emails from people saying, where did this come from? This fell out of the sky. This is an amazing thing. So it's not. It's all technology. The fact that we are not talking about it reflects on us, not the technology. So how do we do this? Well, we've got to work better together and more coordinated. It's that simple. Those of us who are not operating in 4-yearly cycles where we've got to keep people happy all the time have got to start thinking in 20, 30, 40-year cycles. We've got to talk more, we've got to work together more, and we've got to stop being so nervous about coming to conclusions. Right? Academia used to come to conclusions. Think tanks used to come to conclusions. Now we just pose challenging questions and go home for our tea. It's not enough. We have to start to come together and say, if we believe this is the right solution, we collectively have to stand up and say it's the right solution. We have to put together coalitions, we have to put together hard plans, and incidentally, when I say hard plans, I say this to everybody, politicians respond to hard stuff. If you give them numbers and plans, they will consider it. If you give them concepts and adjectives, they will use the adjectives and talk about the concepts and then get back to doing what they were doing before. We have to better coordinate to create a counter-narrative in Scotland to short-term thinking. That is what we are. We are the people who don't have to think in little cycles. If we're not doing it, we're failing and we become as stupid as the political system which we should be balancing. So, let's keep doing the numbers. My real big learning point of the day is that having spent years benchmarking our heating systems to Denmark, I now have a new benchmark of 3-to-1 chocolate to fruit ratios, which I'm going to build into our future targets, and it's really interesting. But we need to do this kind of planning, find out these kind of numbers and put this kind of stuff in place. We've got to stop thinking about what's stopping us and what we can do to fix things. The Scottish Government can't borrow for capital. The Scottish Government absolutely could set up a large-scale national mutual company. It could underwrite its borrowing. As it absolutely just give a £500 million, every time I do that, £500 million underwriting for an aluminium steel plant in Fort William, which never actually came off. It could easily create a national mutual. A national mutual company would not have any borrowing restrictions or requirements and could be tasked with rolling out this work nationally. To do it, we need about 6,000 skilled and semi-skilled tradespeople that we do not currently have. I don't know if any of you can get an electrician. Half of my pals are tradesmen. I can't get an electrician. We don't have any spare. We need about 6,000 plumbers, electricians and joiners to do this, to get started doing this work. And then within the first 5 to 10 years, we at least need to double that number. We need to start developing the training programs for this now, because there's a lead time to it all. And indeed, there's a lead time to all of this. When I met a Danish district heating expert, I found myself saying some of the geekish things I'd ever done in my life, which was pestering over and over on lead times and planning application processes. Because that was the one thing that we didn't know. How long is this going to take? Well, if we can get 12,000 people trained and ready and working, and we can finance it, we can fund it, and we can get the municipal level planning going, which would enable this all to work, our best estimate is it would still take 20 years. That's a realistic timescale for getting Scotland onto district heating. Now, I'll just say one thing quickly, because this is specifically rural. And this is an area where we looked at a number of different options. So, first of all, we think that almost anywhere that there's a gas main, district heating is absolutely feasible. So I say it's about 70% of places. However, we've also found out, interestingly, that the cost of rural district heating when the rurality is not too disparate is actually not substantially different than in urban settings. This is because while the pipe length is longer, the cost of installation and the access to put the pipes in is actually lower. So you can go longer in rural areas for the same cost of installation as shorter in urban areas simply because of the topography, but you're not going to take it out to every farm. And we looked at the options at this point, and we actually think that biomass and biodiesels, just using existing oil boilers and saving your biofuels for rural off-grid makes sense. But we also emphasise that everybody in Scotland, irrespective of their heating source, should have the same cost of heating. So it's not, oh, tough luck, you're not on the really cheap district heating system, you're going to have to go and fork out 20 grand over the next 20 years, 15 years for an air source heat pump. We have to do it in an integrated way, and to hell with the market. You don't need consumer protection if you've got a consumer-focused mutual company delivering cheap electricity, cheap heating to those who want it. So, of course, there are lots and lots of debates that we can have about the energy mix, the energy balance, the speed, the pace. Where do we start? Do we do this fast or slow? How do we plan it? Do we keep a national energy company, a national heating company? Would we go for municipalised heating companies? If so, do we have a standardised charge? There's lots and lots and lots of policy that we can talk about. But if we believe this is the right way to go, and all the science and all the numbers and all the evidence says it's the right way to go, we have to say it, we have to say it much louder. Because right now, we are about to botch, we really are about to botch another 10 years. We're going to be talking about this for 10 years, we're going to be messing about for 10 years, and we are not going to solve it. So, if you think you need a sewage system, build a sewage system. And if you have any sense, be Bazalgette, you know the story of Bazalgette that built the London sewers? He designed them all, he calculated the capacity, and then he said, you know what, let's just double it to be on the safe side. I mean, literally, he just said, let's double the size of the sewers. That is the only reason that London's sewage system did not collapse in the 1970s, is because the Victorians said, let's be on the safe side and future-proof it. Can you imagine Scotland doubling the size of anything just because it was the right thing to do if there was a cheaper way to do it? We wouldn't do this. We would not be able to do that. So we need to take this attitude and we need to do it now. The politicians, I know lots of them. Sarah's here. I know lots of them who would like to do this. But they need the backing and the support to break what are political orthodoxies across the UK about how these things get done. We work with lots of people. I don't really mind how we go about this. So we work in partnership with lots of academics and organisations. We contribute to coalitions. We feed into other bigger things. I am so non-proprietorial about how we do this. But somehow we collectively need to get together and we need to map out the future that Scottish politics is failing to map out, and we need to give them the confidence and the reassurance and the sense of the strength of the view among those that know that this is practical, feasible, doable, and it's our best solution going forwards. I say politics are stupid, but politics are only stupid if we let them be stupid. It is our job to step forward and be the people that make our politics cleverer. I think there's the people in this room, and I think there's people across Scotland to do that, in industry, in local government, in the NGO sector, in the housing sector, right in the education sector, right across the board. We have the capacity to do this. Whining that the Scottish Government isn't doing this isn't going to get us anywhere. We need to step forward, we need to show direction, and we need to find ways to doing this. If it means a district heating coalition in Scotland, and if it means really ramping this up, then great, let's do that. But waiting another 10 years, coming back here and saying, that was a shame we made a mess of it, is not a solution in the timescales that we've got.